Is how you come off. But all right, well, welcome everyone to our meeting, our Some Ventures Band of Angels meeting. Just to recap for those of you it's your first time, we host this monthly meeting on the third Thursday, and the whole goal here is to bring together groups of early stage investors, both angels and VCs, and get founders the opportunity to get exposure to the Band of Angels, which is a group that I'm a part of, but also to other angel investment groups, as well as our fund. We like to start looking at companies early with our fund, Some Ventures. And if you're not familiar, you just go to sum.vc and you can look us up and see more about learn more about our portfolio. But a core part of I think what makes us unique as a fund and as a group is that we really like to start looking at companies early on, tracking founders' progress, helping them along the way. And then obviously investing at inflection points. And we've got a pretty darn good track record of doing it over the years. And so tonight you'll see some companies that are a little bit more of a pre-seed stage, some that are more of a seed stage, and then some that are really knocking on the door of a Series A. And you know what? At each stage, it's we have investors in this group that have their sweet spot along the way. And as a fund, we like to invest, basically pre-seed right before Series A. We'll do 50 to 100K at pre-seed, and we'll do 250 to 500K in the seed round. So that's just a little bit about us and as a fund. We'll have 10-minute presentation this evening. We'll then have 5 minutes of Q&A that's verbal, and then we'll have extended Q&A via the chat window. So please stick around and answer questions in the chat. I think I've shared with you that normally we do more of a 10-minute verbal Q&A. Just we have a lot of great founders and want to make sure that we get everyone an opportunity to present tonight, because last month, I should say, poor Mark ran way too long, and that's on me, and I don't want that to happen again to anybody. So without any further ado, let's get things kicked off with Mark. Let me give you a quick intro here. Mark actually was introduced to me through one of my favorite attorneys, which is really that's saying something, because I can't say that I have too many of those. But Ross Birmingham is a partner over at Gunderson Detmer. He's just an incredible guy, both having worked in the venture space for decades, running Gunderson's office out here in LA. If you're not familiar with Gunderson, they're, I think, the largest venture law firm. So when he says pay attention and listen, this is an interesting early stage opportunity, I usually sit up and do so. And Mark's an accomplished speaker. You can go online and I think check out his TED Talk. And I think I'll shut up and I'll let you take it away from here, Mark. But excited to hear more about Love Bomb and your latest project.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Garrett. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Garrett, is it possible to enable the screen sharing? Awesome. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a good day today and aren't overly devastated by the Twitter blue check marks that went away today. All right, here we go. Let's share the screen. So I got a deck to share with you here. Okay, does everybody see it?
Perfect. Yeah, we got it.
All right, cool. So my background is in growth marketing and subscriber retention. I spent the first 12 years of my career at Showtime Networks, growing Showtime's DirecTV business by about 1 million subscribers. Ultimately, DirecTV was paying Showtime $300 million in license fees at the time that I left. And I left because I wanted to make a greater impact through my work. So I got very into personal development, did a 250 episode podcast series, and also started developing my own daily connection practice, sending personalized video messages to friends and family, important people in my life. And that led me to share my learnings on the TEDx stage. And to date, I've sent over 20,000 personalized appreciation videos. A friend of mine recently said that that's probably more than any human ever. And they may be right, but that's certainly not why I'm doing it. But between just my love for human connection and the lessons that I've learned, together with having experienced the painful loss of my dad to young onset Alzheimer's disease and seeing a friend suffer through addiction, it was just so blatantly obvious to me that the relational support tools that are available today are just horribly insufficient. So let's take a look at the problem here. 61% of people feel down, depressed, or lonely at least once a week. And when you look at the issues that plague our society, like teen suicide, depression, stress, disease, so many people are in crisis, whether privately or getting support of their friends and family. But it's really tough out there. And I have a 3-year-old daughter, and when I take a look at the world, I'm not okay with it, and I want to do my part to making it a kinder, more supportive, loving world. Similarly, a third of people report feeling guilty for not keeping in better touch with their friends and family. And the reality is we're busy. We don't know what others want and need. And current technology just isn't solving the loneliness problem. So when looking at the current state of tech, there's no app that helps you be a better friend. Our social networks prioritize one-to-many sharing versus one-to-one relationship building. Messaging systems lack relationship management tools and heart. And when you put it all together, there are billions of connection and support needs that are unmet every single day. So what we learned through our MVP is that misconnections, there's just so many misconnections, and there's so many more opportunities for us to show up for each other, but oftentimes we just don't know. And how that affects people individually is we miss important events in people's lives that we care about. We oftentimes don't send that quick thinking of you text, and then we end up finding ourselves feeling disconnected or having relationships that start withering away. So when looking at the tools that we use, celebrating birthdays is such an easy way to check in with someone and have a quick touch point. But Facebook was the go-to system for birthdays, but less people and time on Facebook equals a lot more missed birthdays. There's no tools out there that help you remember and celebrate things like anniversaries and days of mourning that are important to people. 5 out of 10 people don't even know their parents' anniversaries. So there's just so many easy opportunities for us to show up for each other and to ignite some uplifting connection that we miss. And there's also no tools out there for our real-time connection needs that, without being overly vulnerable, being able to raise our hand so we can get the support that we need, or to know who in our lives need a loving touch point. So LoveBomb is a digital social assistant built for this post-pandemic world. And it's a healthy and simple social app that helps you be a better friend. It's got a connection calendar, a social assistant, gamification elements, as well as a gift store. And we'll go one layer deeper into that. The connection calendar supports you in never missing important occasions like birthdays. It tells you who you need to show up for today. It shows you all the upcoming dates that are coming in the next 30 days. You can also build a priority list. And it pulls all this information from the contacts in your iPhone, from Facebook, as well as syncing up with your calendar. And if you are missing dates for people in your life, that's where the social assistant comes in. The social assistant will let you know that you're missing a birthday of a friend or a cousin or an anniversary. And the social assistant helps you collect those dates, and also plays into our flywheel of essentially inviting that other person to the app to join you on there as well. The social assistant helps you craft thoughtful messages, and it really helps you tap into that friend that you want to be in your heart. It helps you actualize that. Gamification elements in the app make it really easy to send a love bomb every single day with this pretty simple concept of sending a kind message or calling someone you love every day. Think like Wordle, but for human connection. And then in terms of our gift store, we have all sorts of fun, loving merchandise that makes for the perfect gift for any occasion. So we did a beta test. We had 2,500 beta testers who sent 30,000 love bombs, and we had super users who were sending over 100 each. This was a pretty bare bones MVP that was self-funded, but was a really invaluable experience because we were able to identify who the real market was for this product, which were people who are already super social and seeking a tool to stay connected, people who love to spread joy and positivity, families that were seeking a tool to stay better connected with each other, and then there were support groups that were looking for more effective ways to check in and support one another. So we got a ton of amazing user feedback about what was working and what wasn't working for people, which has led us to giving us the roadmap for Love Bomb V2, which is going to be launching this summer. And we were also able to test and develop a bunch of different marketing levers as how to acquire users. So what is the business opportunity here? By helping people be a better friend, to show up for important occasions, Love Bomb is strongly positioned to capitalize on gifts and greetings and CRM SaaS tools. These are massive markets, the CRM and gifting markets, and helping people keep in touch. It's a $1 billion market opportunity in white space, and it's not a matter of if it's going to be filled, it's when and by who. And we feel very strongly positioned based off of our team and our MVP to fill this gap. So we'll be solving or mitigating a universal human problem that serves and supports the mental health and wellness market, which are very hot topics today in society. The app aids individuals and communities. And it's going to be revenue positive. We're going to be generating revenue from day one with our gifts and greetings. Our gift store is ready to go, and enhanced relationship management tools. And we are taking a play out of the Givingly playbook. I don't know if anyone's heard of the Givingly app. It is a digital greeting card app. It's somewhat similar to Love Bomb. It doesn't have the CRM tools and the gamification, but it launched about 3-4 years ago, raised a pre-seed round, and they proved that you can productize kindness and connection, and have since raised a $9 million Series A round. So we're going to be following their model, which they've proven to be effective. In terms of the financials, we project 100,000 app installs in year one. That'll equate to about 1 million love bombs and smiles, with about 3% of love bombs being accompanied by gift purchases. We're anticipating and forecasting revenues of just shy of $1 million for year one, 3x growth in year two, and 2x growth in years 3, 4, and 5. In terms of distribution, which we learned a lot from just our MVP, we're going to be targeting families and support groups who have the greatest need, running 7-day connection challenges and invite incentives, basically giving away spread love sweatshirts to our early users who get their friends and family on the app. We're also talking to a few different celebrities to be the face of the app, and to be the face of our connection challenge. Think the meditation challenge that Oprah and Deepak run, we're going to be doing that, but for human connection. Our team, my co-founder is incredible, Gavin Jones. He has the domain technical expertise in gaming and habit formation. And Lewis Howes, our honorary co-founder, is one of the top wellness influencers out there. So users loved our MVP, which we've doubled down on in V2. You can take my word for it, or I can show you the app real quick. Does that sound good?
Why don't you show it really quick, and then we'll be able to get 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll move the questions over to chat.
Wonderful. Here we go. All right. Everybody see the phone? So the app will show you who you need to connect with today. So it shows the people here. It shows who's upcoming, priority list. So Peter Schrager. Do we have any football fans in the house? Peter Schrager is a broadcaster for the NFL on Fox. You might recognize him. It's his birthday today, so I'm going to send him a quick love bomb. I can send a video love bomb, a text love bomb, or just some kind of greeting cards here, but let's send him a video love bomb for now. I am going to send him something I've always admired about you. So when I finish the video, I'm going to ask for you guys just to say Schrager, 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 Schrager. Do we got that?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So, hey, Peter, happy birthday, and congrats on your new addition to your family. Very excited for you, but wanted to send you a quick birthday message. Peter, when we first met, you told me that that it was your dream to be a broadcaster on TV, and you not only are, but you're on TV sharing your insights every single day. And I honor you, sending you so much love for the year ahead. And I've got some friends that want to say hi too. Schrager. That was really funny. I'll fire that out to him. But Yeah, we're raising $500,000 on a $5 million cap. We're halfway there, and we're just seeking aligned partners to help us refine our product, grow to 100,000 users, and prep for our 2024 seed raise. So thank you very much for your time, and open to questions.
So, questions from the group. I'll ask a question real quick so everyone thinks. Can you share some of the key differentiators between the MVP that you initially launched and what's launching this summer? Just want to make sure we're clear on. You didn't monetize the MVP, correct? You're going to monetize this next iteration.
That's correct. The first version of the app was just a very simple system where you just made a list of people you cared about, and the app just kind of gave you recommendations based off that list. It didn't have the calendar integrations. It didn't have kind of the smart social assistant tactics. There were no kind of interconnectivity amongst users within the app. So it's a much more robust experience based off of the feedback we got from users in V1.
Mark, does the app integrate at all with Instagram or TikTok? Just thinking about my teenage and college kids and what they use all the time. Is it a standalone app, or would it integrate with either of those?
We definitely would love to have API integrations, and there's a long list of things on our list in terms of being able to, see things from our friends in our life, so we can comment on those kind of touch points, as well as like API integrations with Spotify and YouTube to send songs to people and videos. So all that stuff is in the works, and I think it's just going to be dependent on what level of integration TikTok and Instagram, allows us to tap into.
Great, thank you.
Good. One more question here, and then we'll move the questions over to chat if you want to stick around. Question from the group.
I have a question about the gift store, and you said that that's set up. So can you give some examples of some of the partners that are in there?
So right now it's just all of our own gifts, but we're definitely planning to have digital gift card integrations, as well as seeking out other things where you can, easily purchase someone's morning coffee for the day. You can purchase someone's dinner via, Uber Eats gift card, etc.
Thanks.
Awesome. Great. Hey, Mark, thank you so much for making the time to come and present. What I would suggest is, if you don't mind dropping your contact information in the chat window, and then sticking around, because other members may shoot you a question or two here along the way. And then just again, for all of our presenters, the way this works again is that at the end of the presentation, members are going to stick around, and we're going to talk about you guys. We're going to ask the founders to jump off, and then potentially two companies will get invited up to the Northern California group, and then members of the other angel investor groups who jump on these calls also tend to follow up with presenters as well. So that's how this all works. All right, now Don, there you are. I see you right there. So if you got my monthly newsletter, which is send out, I think we're now over 1,000 folks that get that. I got a little sappy this month, and I talked about my trip to Boulder, Colorado, where I got a chance to sit down and meet with Don and the one of their lead investors, Ricky, who I don't know if Ricky has made it on yet or not, but with Lazzaro Medical. And long story short, that Don has such an incredible track record in the medical space that I literally reached out to one of my top contacts, Kate Garrett over at Sonder Capital, who I've co-invested with on a few opportunities. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I know Don." And it was pretty small world actually on our follow-up, but they're working on a solution that's actually impacted my family, our lives. I'll let them talk about how they're making it easier for folks who are suffering to breathe. And you know what, Don, I'll hand it over because they want to hear from you more than me. So why don't you take it away? And also
Garrett,
co-founder Robert too, welcome.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Garrett, thank you so much for having us here. And again, probably one of the most impactful presentations that I've had the opportunity to do was to have the conversation with you, because as Garrett had mentioned, both here as well as on the newsletter, our story has personally impacted him. Let me go ahead and share my slides for you. And of course, my name is Dawn Bitz, here with my co-founder, Rob Israel, and the company, Lazzaro Medical. So what we are a medical device company. This is a device that physicians will use, but essentially everybody in the room today, we are all breathing. We don't have to think about it. We're not conscientious of it. However, for 40 million people, like Garrett's grandmother, they have to think about this, and they have to conscientiously be aware of every single breath they take. However, 20% of those actually have the most common disease you've likely never heard of. Now, you've probably heard of COPD, you've probably heard of asthma. You might even be affected by asthma in some way, shape, or form, or you may have a loved one that is. And as it turned out, Garrett's loved one, his grandmother, a person that, as he had shared, was very impactful in his life, actually had this disease called tracheobronchial malacia, or TBM for short. Now, TBM is often a misdiagnosed disease, and it's misdiagnosed as COPD and asthma. That's likely why you've never heard of it. But it actually affects an estimated 8 million people here in the United States alone, with 4 million of those people, about half of them, that are actually eligible for treatment right now. But unfortunately, they have very few avenues to be able to get that treatment historically. However, that is changing. And the thing is that these patients actually present oftentimes with a chronic cough. So if you pause for a moment and you start to think about your family members, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, even close friends who have a chronic cough, a cough that just won't go away, or a cough that's progressively getting worse, it's not responding to treatment, and they're having difficulty, increased difficulty breathing, it is likely due to this disease. So as you can see here on the screen, tracheobronchial malacia, and I always kind of use my hand here, your trachea should look like this. It should be nice and essentially D-shaped and open and allow you to breathe. However, as we age, as we're exposed to smoke or other environmental factors, or as we use drugs like corticosteroids, or even likely long-term COVID, the infrastructure of that trachea actually starts to break down and it starts to collapse. And then that's where the cough comes in, because you cough to try to open up your trachea to help you breathe. And unfortunately, the treatment for this disease was historically worse than the disease itself. And before I jump into that, if you think about, there are billions of dollars of businesses in knee replacements, in hip replacements, in shoulder replacements, and all of those are basically a degradation of your cartilage. And if you think about it, your trachea is not some Lazarus organ that's not going to be affected by this. So historically, the treatment for tracheobronchial malacia, or TBM, was just this very, very horrific disease that most patients wouldn't be eligible for. And literally, they would open you, the doctors would open you from stem to stern, pry open your ribs in order to be able to get access to the back of your trachea, because that's where we treat this disease. However, Dr. Lazzaro, who is a very prominent thoracic surgeon historically at Lenox Hill, he's now at a different hospital, but he pioneered the very first minimally invasive robotic surgery of this disease. Now, what that monumental shift did is it actually made a surgery that most patients, like Garrett's grandmother, could have likely been able to undergo the treatment and likely would have survived and been able to recover from, just by actually doing this with a robot and doing this minimally invasively. However, the challenge becomes, or it is still, that the surgeons today, they don't have a device that's specifically designed to go on the backside of your trachea and reconstruct the trachea. So the doctors today are having to use a square piece of surgical mesh, something that they would typically use to treat a hernia. And those physicians are having to literally fabricate this in the body under immense amount of skill. I always equate this to kind of haute couture, like literally the top surgeons in the world. They can take a square piece of mesh and apply it to your trachea and reconstruct it from this to this, but not all surgeons can. And so Lazzaro Medical was actually formed to create a very specific medical device to be able to treat this. I'm actually going to skip this slide for 1 second and actually show you what our device looks like. So as you can see here, it is a very interesting device. It goes right on the back side of your trachea. It's sutured in, and these little tabs here get pulled, and it literally pulls your trachea from flat to open and patent in a very fast and very efficient way. And the great news is for those of you who may be a little less familiar with the medical device space, you have to take a device like this through the FDA. But the great news for us is that we've actually identified and secured and already had conversations with the FDA that this is actually one of the most streamlined pathways to go through the FDA, called a 510K. And we'll be submitting for our FDA submission here towards the end of the calendar year, kind of early fall timeframe. And this will actually then be commercially on market in 2024. The other great thing for those of you who are familiar with the medical device space is reimbursement. Insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid, those kinds of things. And what's very exciting about this disease itself, the procedure itself, is there are already existing reimbursement codes that will pay for this. And even better, the reimbursement is very, very lucrative for a hospital. They make quite a bit of money on this procedure. And with our device, once it is on market, we expect that actually the procedure time will be reduced by about 50%. So we'll take a lot of hours out of the surgery. That gives more money into the hospital's pockets, and it actually increases the success rate of the surgery for the patients. So essentially, we're giving these patients back their lives. Now, as Garrett had indicated, this touched home for him. So this is actually one of our patients that Dr. Lazzaro has done this robotic tracheobronchioplasty on. Today, again, he used the square piece of surgical mesh. But again, the results that we're working to replicate are these. This is one of his patients. Her name is Kathy. Kathy was on a mechanical ventilator, carrying around a mechanical ventilator for 2 years of her life because her symptoms got just so progressively worse. 2 weeks after Kathy had her surgery, this was her on the beach in New York. So Kathy said, how was that for lungs? How was that for airflow? Screaming at the top of her lungs on the beach in New Jersey, doing something she hadn't done in years, all because of the work that Dr. Lazzaro had done, the treatment that he's pioneered, and of course, for many millions of others in the future, for the device that we have actually designed. So as I had mentioned earlier, there are about 8 million patients in the United States alone, doesn't include other patients outside the United States, that actually have this disease, with about 4 million of those patients actually being able to be treated today. That represents a completely untapped market of $40 billion. And we're the first company going into this market. We've got tailwinds with the FDA. We've got the entire key opinion leader base, including Dr. Lazzaro, as well as some others at the Cleveland Clinic, Stanford, Mayo, and many other very prestigious hospitals that are working with us to be able to open up this awareness of this disease and provide treatment. Now, when we actually talk about a medical device company, of course, we're in it not only for helping patients, helping their family members, but also to create a profitable company. And as you can see here, we actually, in the first 5 years of commercialization, beginning again in 2024, that represents about $350 million in revenue across that first 5 years. And like many consumable medical device companies, that's at about an 85% gross margin. But what's very, I think, important to note is that those amounts of revenue that we're generating don't have to come from a lot of surgeries. So I mentioned that there are 4 million eligible patients in the United States today that need this surgery. In year one, we only need 1,000 surgeries across 30 different surgeons to be able to generate that $10 million in our first year revenue. And by the way, I didn't mention, we already have 20 of those surgeons trained, ready to go, and ready and willing as soon as this product is cleared through the FDA. That scales to about 580 surgeons doing about 14,000 surgeries for year 5 to generate $146 million. So again, very approachable go-to-market strategy to be able to generate quite hefty revenues with even heftier gross margins. As Garrett had said, I've spent the better part of the last 27 years of my career in the medical device industry, working with very, very big companies like the Medtronics of the world, Vyaire, which by the way is the company, and I was part of the acquisition team of Kate Garrett's really wonderful startup. but also on the startup and early stage company side. You also can see here Rob Israel as our co-founder, a very successful serial entrepreneur with several successful exits and a very distinct background in knitting, which has helped us generate the product that we have today. Dr. Lazzaro, again, co-founder, pioneer of the first robotic minimally invasive surgery. Dr. Lazzaro is a pioneer in this space, a well-known global thought leader. The other couple of folks I want to point out, and I'll do this fairly quickly and in accordance with time, is Dr. Sudhish Murthy. So Dr. Murthy is actually the head of thoracics at the Cleveland Clinic. He is on our advisory board. He's a part of our team. He's an active member of our team. He is setting up a Center for Excellence for TBM treatment at the Cleveland Clinic as we speak. And then Ryan Redford is our CTO, a profound entrepreneurial engineer. Some of the entities down here, you can see the James Webb Telescope, DARPA, as well as the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. His background is in photonics and optics, and he's been a key member of our team, not only for the product today, but also what I'll show you here in just a second for our future pipeline as well.
Yeah, Don, we're gonna have to accelerate a little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
I will just wrap it up. We're raising our seed round, 5.5 million. We've actually secured 3 million of that through a robotics company as well as Northwell Ventures, and we're circling the remaining $2 million. And then we have a suite of products that we are following along with our scaffold system.
Well, I will ask the first leading question then. Why don't you talk about the suite of products real quick? Why don't you touch on that, and we'll get one or two more questions in before we get to the next one.
Yeah, happy to share. So again, today, first product is the scaffold system, commercial in 2024. We are gearing up then after we close out our seed round for our Series A round. That Series A round is intended to do the product development and commercialization of a diagnostic tool. The diagnostic tool put point of care diagnosis in the ENT and pulmonologist office so that we can actually open up and really diagnose more patients with this very impactful disease and be able to treat them. And then, of course, something called a double lumen endotracheal tube that physicians use to be able to do this surgery. Both of those products would be optics enabled, again, based on our CTO's experience. And both of those products in combination with the scaffold system take that $350 million worth of revenue and accelerate that very quickly to $1 billion revenue opportunity as we layer in those products as we continue to do our Series A and then ultimately a Series B round.
Well, other questions from the group?
Hey, Don, this is fantastic. You know, we have an investment in this company called Deep Blue Medical. And matter of fact, what the Deep Blue did, they came up with a new kind of hernia mesh. So when you mentioned the hernia mesh, yeah, maybe we should definitely connect. Also, many of us in Band of Angel, we are part of something called Keto Health Sciences. We also invest in a lot of, the med tech companies. So yeah, we should definitely talk more.
I think Paul Russo's on this call as well. At least he was. I think he might have gotten kicked off. Anyway, yeah, who runs. Oh, no, he's being admitted, right? He's getting admitted. We'll make sure Paul, who runs Keto, is aware of the opportunity for sure.
Perfect.
And then I missed the valuation for the raise.
So today's $30 million for the valuation for the raise. However, that will be changing as Garrett and I had discussed. We're closing out a seed round at a $30 million cap here in the next couple of weeks. And then that valuation is going to be raising to $40 million based on the milestones that we've achieved. So we'd love for you to invest sooner than later because you're getting a tremendous amount of value before it jumps up in the very near term.
And sweaters, I was actually out in Boulder to judge the sweater barn burner competition. And it was funny enough, when I brought up the company to the folks at Sweater, they had invested on these terms 9 months ago. So it's a real nice opportunity, I think, to get in to Don's point on attractive terms. And just in case you are curious, the newsletter reference, I dropped the link right there. And Donna, please stick around, answer questions in the chat. Again, wish we had more time for each founder to get into more of the weeds, but you know what, we're gonna keep rocking here because we got some other great companies, and this is certainly wonderful to have you both join us, and please share your contact info with the group. So next up is speaking of the Boulder Barn Burner competition, where are we? I gotta find you. Where are you, Salar? Are you here? There you are. You're on the second screen. All right. So one of our winners is joining us this evening. Salar with SweatPals. Is Mandy on as well? I want to say hi to her. Or is it just you? We only got one of the two. It's okay.
It's just me today. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's fine. Well, let's see what to say about SweatPals. SweatPals is a company that's had explosive growth out in Texas. Basically, Salar will share more about the fitness communities that they're building. They're backed by Antler VC. It was actually one of the companies that one of my fellow judges was most bullish on that had come out of his cohort. And I think that you were getting the opportunity to take a look at this company right as they're closing this nice 250K win from the barn burner competition.
I'm gonna call.
Okay, let's go on mute, guys. Anyway, more broadly than that, they actually have a really impressive plan to scale across Miami, Boulder, and Denver. And Salar, forgive me, I'm drawing a blank on the other city that you guys are going to, but I know you'll cover it in your presentation. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you. And thanks so much for making the time.
Thank you so much, Garrett. Very excited to be here today. So I'm going to start going over the presentation, share my screen. And just a quick background on myself. And I grew up in Iran until I was about 20, and I moved to the US for my grad school. And in Boston, that was where I was doing it. I worked on an application, smart city application, and I was CTO of that. We spun it out as a company, and I was CTO there for about 7 years. And I had to travel all the time. So from moving to the US and then that job that required me to travel to these cities, it was a GovTech product. There was always this problem personally of connecting with people through language barriers and cultural barriers. But through fitness, I found that it's very easy. It's kind of like a universal language. So that was my personal journey. And when I moved to Austin a year and a half ago, I met my co-founder in one of these trips in Montreal. She was a very, very, very seasoned designer, very talented, great portfolio. And she was also very connected to this problem. And we're going to talk about that more today. So just wanted to give you a quick background about how we got here. Now, what is the problem that we are solving? So I talked about my journey, that's more on the user side, but what we discovered is that today, if you want to start a running club or a cycling group or a weightlifting community, these are the different platforms that you have to go over. So if you want to organize it, generally, you are using social media like Instagram to find your members. Then after you find them competing in that noisy space, you have to get their emails somehow to share the announcements. Then you go over for payment processing, you use something else, usually Venmo, Stripe. These guys require liability waivers for these experiences. Typeform is used a lot here. Then you have the event scheduling and then the socializing. A lot of the instructors, the coaches, they have usually a WhatsApp group, a Telegram group, somehow to keep these people engaged until they have the next event or experience. So this is on the community side and the instructor side, what they have to build with. I'm not talking necessarily about the studios and gyms. And this is the market and the landscape that we are looking at today. We have over 700,000 of these fitness and health communities and coaches in the US that we have in 4 categories. We have these grassroots clubs like running clubs, cycling groups, and then we have trainers and coaches. This one is usually gathered around a trainer, that like a triathlon trainer, a specialty trainer. You have tennis, you have all these that are formed. Gym and studios. So this one is very well served in this market. So the most innovations in this industry has gone towards that. And then we have racing groups. If you are preparing for a 5K, 10K, and it's a massive market, 32 billion. And what we propose at SweatPals is bringing all these tools in one place where you can organize your events, do your inner group communication, share your announcements, do liability waivers. And we propose it as a social marketplace. So on one side, you have all these communities that I talked about in terms of, you know, the aerobic dance, breathwork, HIIT community, running clubs, where they can use SweatPals as an operating system. So they can use it to have payments, all these different tools we talked about in one place. But on the other side of it, you have the users. So at any time a community comes on and brings their members, the users come on and they can discover other communities as well, or they can discover each other. So on one side, you have a lot of e-commerce, on one side is very social experience, and it helps with the network effects and creating that virality. And so I'm going to show a quick demo of the product. I think it's going to help with a lot of the points we are going over. So I'm going to share from my phone for a live product demo. So this is the home feed of SweatPals. I've just opened the app, and these are the communities that we are seeing. I've logged in Austin, Texas. So on the top, I see the communities I'm going to. There is this Wim Hof group. Tomorrow that I'm going to massive group. You can see there are more than 200 people that go there. On Sunday, for instance, I go to this run club. There's pickleball going on as well. And then you have the editors pick section. These are the sections that we kind of push the visibility up. These are paid sections. And if you are interested in any of these experiences, you can do the purchase from here. Let's say I'm interested in this festival that's happening on Saturday. I can sign up. And to be clear, these are not, none of these we have put on the app. These are all from the users and communities. So I can do the purchase right here as well. And there's a promo code actually for this event. So you also have that capability. And so you are pretty much covered from an organizer standpoint, the things you would need. And then after I purchase, I'm not going to purchase, but if I do, I'm going to get a ticket. They can use it for the check-in. And then on the home feed, I can discover more community. There's a Hot Girl Walking Club. There's a Waterloo Greenway. These are communities I'm not part of. Events that are just added. And then experiences that my SweatPals or friends are going to, that I can join them. So this is on the community side, on the home feed. Now we have the journal section. This is where it becomes, now we are getting on the user side more. This is where people are prompted after their experiences, after their normal workouts, to post about it. So this is where those gym selfies that are on other platforms are frowned upon. This is where they are welcome. So we see a lot of that here, and it's very social, very sticky. And then you have the chat rooms. So I'm part of all these different communities. This is the Wim Hof group I talked about. They share the pin about when they are meeting tomorrow. They do ice bath and they do breath work and meditation in the park. It's a really fun group. And each of us also have our own profile. This is like our fitness identity. This is where you can share, I like running. I'm a beginner at running. I'm a beginner at yoga. And the feed, it's gonna show you your experiences based on your skills and your interests. And not just experiences, but also people. So this is the last feature that we have. This is, we call it Sweat Match. This is where it's going to match you with like-minded people. Maybe you're looking for a pickleball partner, or maybe you're looking for someone who shares your lifestyle. So you can find them here. So you can also have the one-on-one connections as well as the community. And lastly, before I go back to the slides, I have only a few more. On the organizer side, this is, it's the admin side is pretty easy, where you can set up attendee limit, you can request waivers, you can set it to repeat, you can create promo codes. So these are all done in one place. And there are more here. There is a dashboard, you can track your attendees and so on, but just wanted to give a quick show of that side too. Now going back to the presentation, we have a full folder here. If you have seen the deck of all the testimonials, things that people are generating, we are very lucky in this sense that it's because it's so social, and because our community leaders are making a living on the platform, they are sharing about it all the time on Instagram, on TikTok, and that's how we are getting a lot of our users. We haven't spent money on user acquisition. And some of the things that they are saying, for instance, Derek is saying, this is brilliant because everyone's winning. We are winning, consumers are winning, sponsors are coming, discovering these groups, sponsoring them. And Ellie is talking about how easy it is. And on the user side, Olga is saying that this is, I don't know what I would have done without SweatPals, because this is how I'm making friends right now. I'm not into, she's not into the bar scene or the club scene, but she's into the health scene. And Laila is talking about how it's making it accessible. Our Austin launch, it's when we were in Boulder with Garrett, we talked about we have 8,000 members and so on. So now we have a big influx of users, actually, thanks to that competition as well. So we have 9,000 organic Austin members. We are just talking about Austin so far, and I'll talk about more cities, which is a pretty small city. We have close to 300K, 270K target users in Austin based on age and population, and 250 plus Austin communities that are actively using it. It was released to Austin last October. And we did, until October, there was a very small beta rounds, a couple of beta rounds that we did, no user acquisition cost. And so far, we've last month, I should correct this, last month was we processed $15,000 in GMV, and we've made a 13K revenue so far. And in terms of our monthly retention, overall is 63%, which is very high for a social platform. I wouldn't compare it to something like Twitter because they have so many users. But if you look at, for instance, Strava in the early days or those kind of companies, this is doing slightly better than them at those early days. As you scale, this number is going to go down. And then on the community side is, of course, very high, which we would expect because that's where they are making a living. Our business model combines transaction fees and club sponsorships today. But so we take a little over 12.5%, closer to 13% of transactions that are made on the app. And we also have brands that are sponsoring the clubs on the app. And our model is we charge them about $2 to $5 per RSVP, depending on the level of sponsorship. And then we have subscriptions that we're going to roll out. We want to roll out later this year, where it's going to unlock all these paid clubs and events to be free, and they get paid kind of like a class pass model. And in terms of the competition landscape, so I'm going to very quickly go over this, but essentially the way this problem is getting solved today is on social media. You have Facebook, Instagram. They are very, very good on the if you want to DM someone, have a group chat, but they are mostly content media. You don't really go there to make connections or discover communities or events, and you're always competing with the algorithm. You don't own all the information of your attendees. Then you have Slack and Discord and these messaging apps, which are great for communication, no liability waiver or payments or events. And then you have MindBody and apps like that, which could be an interesting actually exit strategy, but they are great at the studio side, the scheduling side, very, very sophisticated, but not on the social side or community building side. And then we have meetup.com, which is good for one-off events or the Eventbrite, but you don't really build community there. If you meet a group on Meetup, you move it to WhatsApp or somewhere else usually to build community. And you don't have liability waiver or payments. And we have fitness apps that are very focused on metrics. So this is a very, kind of a high-level view of the landscape. And finally, on our progress here, we started in Q2. We are starting in Q2 last year that we focused on rapid prototyping, user interviews. We launched in Austin with 15 initial users, one community, and then in October is when we opened it up. And last year we ended with 3,000 users, 100 communities, and we closed the pre-seed round of 700K, and and now that we are speaking, we have more than 9,000 users, 250 active communities. And in actually next week, we are going to Miami. We have some initial communities that are getting onboarded to the app. We are going to onboard them and make sure they are about 10 of them, they're all set. And next month, the app will be open in Miami, and we have about 1,200 people in the wait list that can use it. And it's going to start growing in that city as well. We get a big pull from there.
So we gotta wrap it up so we can get to your questions.
Yes, absolutely. And these are the list of other cities that Garrett mentioned as well. And last slide that I have here, our team, I talked about myself and Mandy, who had worked on products by Fortune 500 people. We have a great development team. We have a professional ballerina, our marketing manager, and our investor and advisors are also an all-star team. We have Jared, who founded Hotel Tonight, one of the very illustrious career in marketplaces. Janine, who had exits to Meta, and Google, and Fardad, who led a syndicate from YPO for our previous round, and Prerna, who was an early Uber employee. And last thing on our round, like I said, we closed 700K. We have, with this competition that Garrett was part of, we now are sitting at 950K. We are raising our price round in Q3. We are not actively raising, but if there are value-add investors that we are passionate about this space, we would love to speak with you about adding to this round, but we are not actively raising until Q3, and we'd love to also connect with you about that round if you're interested. Thank you very much, Garrett, for having me, and open to any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I think as very comprehensive. You got a lot in there. Let's see if anyone wants to ask a question besides me.
Yeah.
Looking at Adam, Milko, Frank, anybody? We got. I think it's probably because you covered so much darn information in your presentation. There's probably. All right, I'd like you to just share just real quick for the group. Just again, explain how you go about launching a city, because I think that's always the big question: is how do you go from doing it really well in Austin, one thing, now doing it well across the country is a whole nother task. And I know the answer, but I want the group to know the answer.
Absolutely. In Austin, actually, we just hired a city manager. So she's going to take over all these community onboarding that I've been doing and Mandy's been doing. But essentially, the way it works is that kind of similar to what Uber did, city by city, not as capital intensive, but each city will have its own community manager, which is going to manage the relationships. We have one channel, which is direct to community, about 5 to 10 at the beginning we onboard before we open the app. So when people come on, there are other functions of the app are somewhat geo-agnostic. People come in, and then we have that channel, and then it gets into the content marketing, and we also lead traffic from other event sites like Meetup, Eventbrite to the app on the user side, and on the community side we have these city managers.
Kind of similar in a way to how Airbnb hacked their early adopters with Craigslist. You've done a great job with your organic growth there. So, well, please share your contact info. For those of you who are LPs in my fund, I'll be able to add more, and you'll get to hear more in a week from Sunday when we have our meeting. Because as he mentioned, we're sponsors for the Barn Burner event. We put 100K and ended up getting split between two winners, and SweatPals was one of them. So thank you so much again, and yeah, please, we'll move the Q&A over to chat. And Darren, I think it's go time, and rather than have to put up with me doing an intro, I brought in the big guns and reached out to our LPs over Douglas Elliman, specifically Dan Sacker, who runs New Valley Ventures over there. And if you've attended this meeting enough, you've probably seen Dan a few times on the call, and he prepared an intro for you, as they've invested in your company a couple times and want to share that now. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here, and then we'll let Darren kick things off. Share screen. All right, Eric, share screen. Share. All right, here's Dan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dan Sacker here from Miami, Florida, and very sorry that I couldn't join you live and in person for this event tonight, but I really wanted to talk about fyxify and Darren and Douglas Elliman, where I work. So I work for the parent company of Douglas Elliman, the national real estate brokerage, and we also invest in prop tech. That we have a vision that we can connect the dots to our company and to our operations and to our 7,000 agents and billions in transactions every year. And the reason that we've actually invested twice now in fyxify is very specifically because the home services space is a very, very immense and promising area that needs a lot of technological standardization. And very few firms that we've seen have been able to do it in a meaningful way that we think could scale to a point where we could connect it to what we do and what our agents do across the country. But we believe that fyxify is very much that firm that can get there and has already proven that they can, bring scale to a very fragmented, almost mom and pop type of industry by finding the right distribution points, the right partner companies, and by building an incredibly compelling product that works in a way that is meaningful and and drives positive revenue and return for all the parties involved. And that's very hard to find these days, and we think fyxify is the one to do it. So we have been very happy to invest twice and be partners with Darren and the team. And I think that this next funding round will really get them to a place where they can start to get that takeoff speed and scale that we'd love to see. And once we can get that and get there some national usage for vendors and service providers across the country, what we'd like to do is figure out ways that we can help connect them to the homeowners we put in homes. Our agents help them buy homes, move into homes, and they often have renovation, they have work to do, they have AC repair to deal with. And what we'd like to do is then connect the dots into our user experiences in such a way that leverages the fyxify scheduling and operational and payment capability, and gives great, great service provider experience to our clients. So with that, again, sorry I couldn't be there, but I hope very much that everybody enjoys the presentation. And if there's anything I can do, feel free to reach out to me tomorrow, the next day. I'm always happy to talk about fyxify and Darren and his tremendous team. Thank you.
All right. Stop share. All right, Darren, the floor is yours.
Well, that was cool. So hello, everybody. My name is Darren Dixon. I'm the founder of fyxify. And fyxify is a platform for the home services industry, the essential home service industry that connects people, processes, and data to create modern service experiences. And what we do is we create modern experiences for homeowners in this home industry space. And we create technology that connects homeowners who need repairs immediately to available service providers faster, easier, and more affordably than before. If you've ever had to deal with an essential home service issue, you've probably been super impressed with the amount of technology, the amount of modernization that's been involved in the industry. Just a little bit about myself, a small, tiny bit about myself, because this company is about much more than me, but I've been 28 years in the home service industry, and my partners and I built the largest standing brands of home service providers in North America. We created 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, and Mr. Sparky Electric. Today, representing billions of dollars of revenue and transactions across the home service space. Sold it to Direct Energy in 2010. Today, it's owned by Authority Brands, one of the largest home service providing brand aggregates in North America. The whole key to what we do is we solve very important problems. And anybody who owns a home or lives in a home has probably experienced some kind of a challenge with the essential services in their home. So the first problem that we focus on is the homeowner. So as a technology to the home service space, our first start is with homeowners. And 80% of homeowners want home protection subscription plans that simplify their home repairs. They expect fast, easy, and affordable service from the service providers that they can trust, and they want to lower their energy costs. Well, then you have home protection providers. These are utility and insurance companies primarily that want to be able to improve consumer retention, but they have a problem. The challenge is that people want manageable subscription products to be able to take care of their home service issues. The problem is today's technology does not provide for a fast and easy experience. Yes, you can probably save some money if you are using a subscription product, but the challenge is that it's a lengthy and arduous process and not typically solved from a high level of quality provider. So the home protection providers are looking to improve that retention of their customers. They cannot effectively today manage a service provider network, and they need automation to be able to manage the claims lifecycle as well as reduce costs. So now we have the third part of the process, and that is the local service providers, specifically small and mid-size HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and appliance businesses. Now, these companies need service customers immediately. In many cases, if they don't get a service customer immediately, they have a technician sitting available right now who is not able to provide service, and they have a missed opportunity. It's like an airplane leaving with an empty seat. They need to simplify the operation of their companies because they don't have sophisticated tools and they don't know how to solve those problems. They lack affordable technology and they need to operate more profitably. So this is where our job comes in. So the first solution we provide is always focused on the homeowner. We want to be able to provide a homeowner a simpler and a more affordable solution to be able to take care of these essential services. So we provide on-demand service, much like the Uberification. We are able to provide and connect a consumer through a subscription product to a qualified and vetted out service company that is available to come now. It allows the homeowner to manage their costs, to be susceptible from pricing that comes from marauders, and be able to manage those costs through a subscription product, be able to get faster service, and ultimately experience the joy of the peace of mind that makes it a little bit easier to manage their home repairs, whether it be in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, or their appliances. As far as the home warranty and protection provider, fyxify solutions provide and manage the service network that these companies need to rely on. We automate the claims process. So today, where there are very costly communication centers that require service technicians to call in to report what problems are at a consumer's home, and then hopefully receive the approval and the claim benefit approval to proceed with the repair, we're able to automate that process and keep them working in real time, which simplifies and improves productivity. It also enables loyal sales growth, because the opportunity for consumers to get a more affordable service that is also simpler and easier to solve their problems is obviously the solution that most consumers are looking for, which improves retention. So fyxify makes it easier to operate and scale a warranty enterprise. As far as solutions for local service providers, we provide them with free service customers. So the easiest thing to give a service provider today is a free customer. It's the hardest thing for them to acquire for themselves. We give them a guided diagnostic workflow through our Pro app that lives on the technician's smart device. And then we also, as I said, provide automated repair approvals through the integration into the insurer and the warranty provider. And then also we automate all of the payment process. So in today's world, where a service provider has to then literally, this is archaic, but it's true, they have to submit an invoice, they have to scan that invoice, they have to email it or mail it back to the insurance provider to be able to get paid. We're able to do it in a millisecond by an automated payment and disbursement method. It's a big market. The home services industry, and most people don't realize, is a $595 billion market. Now, the interesting thing about the home service business is not only is it recession-proof, but very recently we've also learned that it is also pandemic-proof. The U.S. protection plan market, or the home warranty market, is $3.6 billion of TAM. There is a $26 billion residential HVAC market alone, with 8.5 million replacement systems being sold each year. So far, during our pilot programs, we've been able to achieve a significant amount of consumer traction, literally having our software, our technology app on the smart devices of consumers of over 220,000 nationwide. We also have 2,800 service providers that we've been able to put into our program over the last 2 years, not only in HVAC, but in plumbing and electrical as well. Our revenue model is real simple. We give consumers our software to use for free. We get paid $75 per claim that comes from the insurer, and we have a freemium model for service providers. Our technology allows service providers the ability to use our CRM and the other tools that we use to increase productivity and profitability inside their organizations for free, while creating them as a service mesh across the United States and Canada to be able to distribute these service calls to. So we offer the consumer the app at no cost. We receive $75 of processing fee for every claim, and we provide the technology of the service provider for free. We also process disbursements and have payment processing in our future as well. We plan to charge a nominal convenience fee of 2% for every transaction completed via the platform to the consumer in the future, but much like DoorDash or Uber Eats uses, but today there's no cost to the consumer. So far, we've gotten some pretty decent channel traction in the home warranty space. NRG, one of the larger utility companies in North America, has recently completed a $5.2 billion acquisition of Vivint Home Security. Their plan is to bundle services from Vivint to be able to offer these home service plans. But the first thing they needed to be able to do is know that they could manage a service network or could have someone that could provide and manage a service network. And that's where fyxify came in. So our paid pilot agreement was executed, started in Q4. We were able to have a significant impact on the NRG protection plan financial metrics. We were able to reduce the average service time wait from 11 days to 48 hours. In 80% of the cases, we could have solved that consumer's home service need on the day that it happened, but the consumer schedule is what we cater to. And so in 80% of the time, it could have been done on day one, but on average, it was done in 48 hours. We were able to help them reduce their operating expenses, remove false claims, and ultimately reduce the severity of claim benefit amount by 39% or $195 per claim. So not only with paying the processing fee to fyxify, they were all ultimately able to increase the profitability on every one of their service calls by over $120. Now, taking into consideration that NRG and Vivint's plan is to add over 1 million new customers within the next 2.5 years, it's a pretty good opportunity for fyxify to be able to impact this part of the industry significantly. In phase 2, we executed a master service agreement across North America. We are presently in the process of integrating all of the auto approval processes with the NRG systems and programs in place, as well as branching out to other NRG properties and other utilities that they own, and expanding our reach into other home service and warranty providers across North America. In phase 3, over the next 12 months, we will continue our North American rollout, continue to expand that service network, and are actually also beginning a white label subscription fyxify protection plan within the NRG environment as well. Some of our milestones: we've invested $5 million into our technology and the development of our service network. We have 2,800 service providers and growing, and processed over 8,000 transactions during our initial pilot and test periods. We secured the NRG market service agreement, and we are the technology provider to the largest manufacturer of home service products in the world, Daikin International, with over 25,000 service providers across the United States and Canada. Currently, we're seeking a $4 million round, completing our deep API integration with NRG and our payment disbursement mechanisms. We're growing that service provider network footprint on a daily basis and continuing to develop our full operational CRM so that these service providers can use our software to not only take the service calls to help fulfill the needs of the consumers, but also to operate their businesses in a more profitable way. We're currently expanding into Canada and adding additional trades. Our financial projections are for 2023, it's 1.6 million in revenue. We had $450,000 in revenue in 2022. We expect to increase that significantly in 2024 as the Vivint sales mechanism starts to kick in. Now, you'll notice that revenue and profit are pretty close numbers. The reason being is that we knew that if we were able to automate the processes the way that we wanted to, that we could ultimately create a perpetual motion business machine that used AI and automation to be able to process claims, approvals, and payments, not relative to the number of bodies and people needed to be able to get it done. We see 2027 with a revenue opportunity of $263.7 million with net profits of over $200 million. The leadership team that we have here at fyxify is made up of some very significant people I'm humbled to be able to operate with. Our CTO is a man named John Graff, over 25 years in software development, not only in the commercial sector, but also building products that the federal government uses today in the military to stand up and deploy soldiers and the goods and all of the goods and products that they need when they go to war across the world. Jay Latendry, our CTO, was 18 plus years of leading high growth tech startups in multiple verticals. And then Bethany Singh, our CRO, 20 years of global marketing and monetization. We've got some very great strategic partners. We have deep integrations with Goldman Sachs payment processing. NRG, of course, Stripe, Daikin, Goodman, and of course, some of our other products and partners that provide financing, leasing, and opportunities for consumers to be able to add on to their systems and the things that they need in their home. We've received some significant awards and we're very thankful for it. We were noted as one of the top fintech products of 2022, and we were named the Dealer Design Award for Contractor Services and Software in 2022 as well. This technology is very disruptive that we've created. It doesn't exist. We are one of one. Not only do we handle logistics management, consumer-driven direct dispatching, AI-assisted consumer recommendations, which analyzes and looks at the probability of expense in the future and makes recommendations not only to the consumer, but also to the insurer of repairs that should be made today to avoid failure in the future, comprehensive data modeling, but we also do claim origination, approval, and disbursement. This is something that doesn't exist in that space today. We have integrated payments and retail financing options, like I mentioned, through Stripe. But one of the things that I'm most proud of that we do, and really if you were to ask me, what is it that we really do? I would tell you that we're an energy efficiency company. I would tell you that we're really focused on the earth and making sure that we are able to help reduce the carbon footprint across North America. Because what our software does at the time of service is analyzes the amount of electricity and consumption that's going on inside a consumer's home and is able to use AI to make recommendations on how they can improve that energy efficiency and to facilitate transactions that will help them to reach net zero expense. We use an established service provider network that is vetted out, safe, and secure.
Darren, I think we gotta wrap it here because we're getting close. We're over time actually. So
well, all right. So I appreciate
that'd be great.
Yep. I appreciate you guys in your time. Obviously, it's not easy in 10 minutes to be able to, like the other presenters today, not easy in 10 minutes to be able to kind of give you the scope of what a company does. But I'm grateful to be here. I'm thankful for Garrett to invite us and open to any questions that would like to be asked at this time.
Yeah. So I think actually, so you touched on one. So let's hit the competitive landscape and then just recap the ask, and then we're gonna have to move on and move questions over to the chat window.
Sure. So from a competitive landscape, fyxify is one of one. There are companies that do some of what fyxify does, but none that do all. fyxify is right now in the process of a $4 million round. We do have institutional investors, as you heard from Dan Sacker, and we had a $53 million round in which they came in at $25 million and then also at $53 million based on the ability to scale and the milestones that we've accomplished thus far. So open to any questions. Also would like to be able to share my contact information. I'll also put it in the chat. My email is ddixon@fyxify.com, and I'll also share my contact information in chat.
Got it. And for members present, we'll talk a little bit more about the terms on this specific deal towards the end too, because this is something that we're taking a hard look at as a fund as well. So yeah, thank you again, Darren, and sorry to cut you off in that fashion. Okay. But I think you were able to communicate a lot, and I think we got a lot of heads nodding along. So I imagine you'll have some follow up here afterwards. Great. Well, I think Ezinne is somewhere here, and Ambrose. Where are you? There's Ezinne. Wonderful. All right. Hey, great to have you guys join us. So obviously, if you've been on this call, you know that I clearly take very, very good care of my skin, and my beauty routine is very much on point, which is why I decided that I would share the secret to my success. Actually, no, it's the future secret to my success, because I've yet to get my product line. But we had the chance to meet Ezinne again up at Boulder for the Barn Burner pitch contest. Not only was I impressed with her passion and her partner Ambrose, who's here, their passion, but really being able to build just an elegant product line, and then the bootstrap nature and the grit and determination these two have shown in bootstrapping their business to over $250,000 in revenue, getting folks like Andreessen Horowitz on board, and getting and I'm not going to steal all your thunder. You have some other exciting announcements to do, but I will let you take it away from here. But I'm really happy to have you both join us tonight. And yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. At this point, I think I was just gonna just let you do your thing, you know? Can you guys see my screen? Yes, we're all good to go. Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, hello everybody. Now, I'm Ezinne, as you already know, and I'm really pleased to present SKNMUSE to you today. I want to tell you some quick facts about us and why now is the best time to invest. Just like my buddy Garrett said, we are backed by Andreessen Horowitz. We've been featured by Beyonce, and we are currently working on an exit strategy that would favor Estee Lauder. Now I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my story. So at 16, I migrated alone from Nigeria to America for my American dream at the University of Oklahoma. I suddenly found myself with the responsibility of an adult, but with the authority of a child. I was bold, but very much afraid, homesick, and also excited. So I started to looking for ways to comfort myself, and it brought me back to my mother's beauty routines. She used to make body butters and fragrances and really spend time with herself. So I started mimicking these routines, and it made me—
Pudding or Jello?
Pudding is fine.
Which one, pudding or Jello?
Sorry about that. I'm gonna mute whoever's
okay.
here. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. These routines, that's apparent, you know? These routines made me feel warm again, just like my mom's embrace, just like pudding in Jello. And I found home away from home in those moments. Now, here I am at 18, right? At 18, I got my work permit from the American government, and my first job was as a perfumer at Dillard's. I loved that job because it laid the foundation for my career. Shortly after, I became a national artist for Lancôme, and I traveled around the world with them, and eventually a business manager for Dior. However, after a decade of working in luxury beauty, I was still having to make my own body products, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. You see, before now, my beauty experiences had consisted of weird back alley visits trying to source the same ingredients that I desperately needed. Or whenever I go to TSA, I didn't know if my products were ounce appropriate to make it through, and most times they were not. So I'd be on the plane upset because now I have to use the hotel lotion, which we all know isn't lotion. And I started thinking, if I, of all people, is dealing with this, how many other people are also dealing with this? And I did some research. I found out that minority consumers spend about $4 trillion, and Black women alone spend $8 billion just on beauty. That is twice as much as everybody else, and 84% of us actually purchase personal care for our families. So I thought, why isn't anyone producing products reflective of the most valuable markets in beauty? This unfortunate oversight became my fortunate product market fit. And that's why we launched SKNMUSE. We are a beauty brand lowering the access barrier in luxury beauty for the modern day consumer. So what do? We leverage cultural practices to give you daily moments of ease, clean beauty rituals, and self-care. My next slide right here. Yes, perfect. And self-care. What this does for us is it puts us in a space where our brand position is at the intersection of beauty, culture, and access. In less than 3 years, we've been able to bootstrap to $250,000. We've launched online at Macy's, Madewell, and 13 Lune. And recently, we found out that we will be the only premier beauty brand launching on Diddy's new luxury marketplace called Empower Global. We currently have 15 wholesalers, and we are actually rolling out already in 40 hotels with 1,000 more on the horizon. But that's not just all. We also own our entire production vertical and formulation, so we're able to cut out the middleman. Here are our hero products, which I love. Cuticle oil is ranked top 10 by LUSA. Our body oil has been clinically tested and beats out our top competitors by 22%. It is also our MVP product with over 2,000 units sold, and it holds rank with 40% of our revenue. So that's our baby. Our body butter is also the first of its kind. It's non-greasy and fast absorbing. And we strategically target the most loyal consumer base in America. So we're able to maintain a 50% retention rate at a $3 CAC. Our average order value is $166 with 70 to 80% margins. Through our partnership with Macy's, we've actually already started speaking with Bloomingdale's and Blue Mercury to launch sometime early next year. We've already formed strong partnerships with Amex, the Dream Hotel, and we've been featured in Vogue by Issa Rae. Issa actually describes us as the brand that you will never return. So I love that. I love that phrase. Now, one of the things I really love about our customers is the obsession that they have with SKNMUSE. So we've built a refill program that rewards them for every purchase. So they get about 10% if you bring your jar in. And then they save money after their 5th purchase because they get a free product. This has motivated them to buy more, resulting in an LTV of $2,000. Plus, for every loyal customer we get, that equals 4 referrals, plus 1 household at the least. In fact, some of my favorite customers think that our text line is their personal chat line. So they are constantly engaging with us. Speaking about customers, these are some of my favorite muses. Right here, we have Monet. Monet is 32 years old and she lives in New York and she shares it with her kids. She uses it for her pregnancy belly bumps every time she gets pregnant. We have Baishira. Baishira is 35. She lives in Chicago and every quarter, Baishira saves up just to splurge on SKNMUSE products. It's like it's what she looks forward to just to bring some piece of luxury to herself. And here we have Fumi. Fumi is a 44-year-old woman living in Dallas. She's also a beauty influencer and she travels the world, partnering brands. She takes SKNMUSE travel size sets everywhere she goes. All of them are walking and talking billboards for SKNMUSE. And yes, it's beauty. So we're in a very competitive industry and we know that. We're also competing against industry veterans. However, they love the fresh perspective, which is our customer base. They love the fresh perspective that we bring to the industry. The market opportunity there is outstanding. And we have the capacity to capture 100 billion just from travel and about 22 billion from the beauty industry. We've already seen 100% growth. We invested less than $1,000 into this business before we reached $250,000. This increase has, since our increase and with our increase and launch this year, with our marketing strategy and expansion into the retail space, we're projected to close out at $2 million this year, which would put us on track to become the Apple of beauty by 2030 with at least 100 million in revenue. We're already laying the foundation for a possible and favorable exit with Estée Lauder, like I said. Now, before I close out, though, I want to highlight my fantastic team. Without them, I would not be here. These people have sacrificed a lot, sweat, blood, and tears to get us here. Collectively, we come with over 40 years of experience in beauty and fashion. We've worked with Tommy Hilfiger, Kathy Hilton, Louis Vuitton. Our advisor is also the ex-CMO of Glossier. And also because of them, we've been able to move the needle with some social impact initiatives. Right now, our company is actually sponsoring therapy sessions, at least 50 every year for kids in need. Our strategy is very simple. Use luxury as a liberty and expand into the hospitality space. We want to be the preferred supplier for all luxury hotels and spas, so that when we launch in big box retailers, we have a strong customer base to 10x our growth. From our research, our consumer base is already seeking a SKNMUSE. They're literally looking for us. They just haven't met us yet. So some of the tools we'll be implementing for the next couple of months, 12 months, will be target 3 mega cities like New York, Chicago, Houston, and that's to set up a market expansion base. Last, we'll also be investing in our marketing, social media, and digital marketing. We're already partnering with Meta and Pinterest to increase brand visibility outside of just social media. So let's see how we can actually activate the users who are shopping in person, which is our target audience. Just like I said, guerrilla marketing, we want to use some guerrilla marketing in areas that attract the target audience that we've currently chased, which is women 30 plus and 30 plus to 65, and also beauty influencers. So for example, something at the Atlanta airport to really give us high visibility. And last but not least, an ambassador program that speaks to our 3 customer profiles to speak to them so that they can see and resonate with us as soon as they see us in person. And also hear about us, through influencer program. And that's why we're coming to you today, to give you the opportunity to invest in us this early, as we build a truly revolutionary beauty brand in this space. I'm asking for 1.3 on a 5.5 valuation. We've already raised $300,000 through Andreessen Horowitz and some non-dilutive grants. And we're thinking ahead on how to give our investors the most favorable exit by joining that Estée Lauder pipeline. Now, some of you are thinking it's just beauty, but I want you to know that there's a reason why beauty has always been recession-proof, right? There's an untapped gold mine in there already in the luxury beauty space for who we're building for. So I don't want you to get left behind like Victoria's Secret, Blockbuster, and BlackBerry. The new age consumer is already asking for change. Thank you so much. And join me as we build the apple of beauty. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Ezinne. Questions from the group? All right, I can't see, just feel free to chime in, guys.
How do you exit?
I have a question about the hotel and spa strategy, and can you share a little bit more about where you are in making some inroads with some brands?
Yeah, so we actually have a partnership with, I'm so sorry, I'm trying to remove, stop sharing my screen.
And I apologize if I missed that.
Okay, don't worry. I guess I'll just leave the screen. We're actually, we have a partnership with a company called Roomza, RWOMZA. What they do, they run operations for hotels. So they are supplying from us for most of their hotels, and also the hotels they're building already. We already have a contract and commitment for them for us to be their preferred supplier. So that's our strategy. We also want, as we invest the money that we're going to get from fundraising, we'll also hire a full-time sales manager to also work outside of Roomza for the hotels that are not in their network as well. And for spas, we actually are testing out in a market called Scott Miller in Rochester, New York. We've been doing really well over there. Last year alone, they were bringing in over $10,000 quarterly. So we see that there's an opportunity there. We just have to expand efficiently in that space.
Hi, well, I'm invested. I don't know if you've probably heard of the company Uma Beauty.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sharon invested in us. She wrote us a $10,000 check, actually.
Oh, great. Well, we're investors in Sharon.
Yes, I know Sharon. Yes.
Oh, good. Well, we know Sharon very well. So my question is on your supply chain. How are you supplying things? Where are you doing it? How are you getting it all done?
So we source from 3 markets, Nigeria, West Africa, because I'm from there. So I have a very direct connection with a farm that helps with the shea and cocoa. We sourced our fragrances from a souk, like in Dubai, you know how they have the souks there. So we have a direct connect there as well. And also in Inglewood, LA. So everything else that we might need. So those 3 markets. We have a manufacturing facility in Chatsworth, California. So we source directly, we bring it to Chatsworth, it's manufactured in the space, and we distribute from that space.
What about the packaging?
The packaging is sourced within America. So we source from New York is where we source our packaging from. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are your costs on that?
So 70 to 80% margins, profit margins when it comes to D2C. So like across the board, if something for, I don't know how to, when you say you want to know the cost of production per each product or just in general?
Just blended, I guess. Yeah. Just, we don't have time. So.
The most expensive product costs about maybe $22 to produce. I would say that safely. I don't know. Yes, I was like, can I say that? While I was recording. I'm like, wait, but our most expensive product costs about $22 to manufacture. We source in New York and also in India. Our candles are actually sourced from the best source in India, but we're also working with a third broker right now to actually take everything overseas, just so we can increase those profit margins for big box retailers.
I'll see about editing the video, Ezinne, before I share for you. Okay, but let's take the other Q&A over to the chat.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think that really fantastic presentation.
Yeah.
Can you stop share?
Here it is.
There we go. Now that we see everybody, awesome. Hey, again, thank you both so much for your time, Ezinne and Ambrose. Stick around, please put your contact info in the box. And we got Eric who's getting geared up already, got the screen shared already. Let me brag on Eric for a second. Had the chance to get to know Eric again up in Boulder. This is a barn burner filled pitch event. I took 3 of the favorite founders that I had a chance to meet at that competition and brought them out for our group today. And the other founders are also amazing, and you'll get to see them too down the road. But Grapefruit Health, what really drew me to Eric and to this opportunity and the other judges, because this was the other winner from the event, was that he's found such a unique way to tap into a talent pool and that's solving such a major pain point in healthcare. And Eric's just got an incredible track record, both as I'm a little biased here, as he's a former airman as well. And I look forward to you guys hearing his story, and I think this is a great opportunity to get in alongside some really strong co-investors, our fund included. So Eric, why don't you take it away, and I'll stop stealing your thunder.
No, yes, sir. Thank you so much, Gary, for that introduction. I know I'm last here, so I'm going to try to bring a lot of energy in here before you go into your session after this. But hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm Eric Alvarez. I'm the proud CEO and founder of Grapefruit Health. And the problem we're addressing is this massive staffing shortage in healthcare today. We're actually short by 3.2 million healthcare workers, which is the population roughly of Los Angeles. And the saddest part about this, or there's two sad parts, but one of them is that the problem's getting a lot worse. That number is growing by the day. But 265,000 people actually die each and every year due to this staffing shortage. And 100 times that number are also negatively affected in other ways. And you see solutions out there, things that are like recruiters or travel clinicians, travel nurses, staffing and gig platforms. The problem is that the number of workers is defined. So what they're doing is really moving those pieces around, which is a zero-sum game at best. But in fact, it's a net negative game, because when you transition employment, you reduce productivity, you increase medical errors, and then they charge a premium for those transitions, right? A recruiter charges to recruit out there. So we've decided that we're thinking way outside the box here. We've blown up the box completely. And we are addressing the problem by creating the first and only workforce that is exclusively composed of clinical students. We recruit, train, and manage these students to perform work onto our platform, to perform work for healthcare organizations remotely. We define a clinical student as anyone pursuing clinical education, from a medical assistant to a pre-med student. We work mostly with nursing, social work, pharmacy students to perform this kind of work. And because we have the time, unlike not in every one of these, do you have the actual time? Let me break it down to you in a little more granularity. Step one of our company, our solution, we really think of it in 4 blocks, but step one is really this workforce side. We recruit, train, and manage these students. They go through extensive, HIPAA training, background checks, sexual harassment training. We do different things like therapeutic communication, motivational interviewing, how to handle suicidal ideation, all of these complex things that you need to teach these folks, which is great for them. The students get to learn while they earn. Secondly, we built our own technology. So we are technology-enabled services, a very, very slick solution, a web application we call the Grove, because cutely, that's where grapefruits grow, is in a grove, and some other names were already taken. But the students are able to utilize this web application. They log in around their schedule. They click a button that says generate an interaction. And we use our proprietary algorithm actually to match them to patients based off of language, culture, proximity, interest. And by doing this, you have the highest trust conversations. It's no longer, it doesn't feel as much like a stranger's calling you, right? We're also text messaging them before we call these patients. But by matching on those different components and attributes, leads to much better outcomes for the work that we do, which we'll get into here in a second. And then lastly, what we do is we sell to really a partner with healthcare organizations. This can be healthcare systems, like large healthcare systems, maybe like Common Spirit or Kaiser Permanente if you're on the West Coast. It can also be medical groups. It can be insurance companies. It can be different organizations. It could be like a different Planned Parenthood or a community healthcare organization that we're doing work on behalf of. And the work that we're doing today is typically telephonic outreach, but it's to accomplish a task. And I don't want to get too jargon in here if everyone's not super healthcare focused, but think about all of the kind of surveys and population healthcare assessments that a healthcare organization might need to do. All the enrollment, you might be seeing in the news today, millions of Americans are losing their Medicaid coverage because they don't have maybe the aptitude or the wherewithal to know that they need to re-enroll and that they're going to lose this coverage. That's something that we're doing today. Medication adherence calls. So patients that are high risk, that are on very critical drugs, like for blood pressure and diabetes and cholesterol, we're calling them to understand why, utilizing pharmacy students. And so there's a lot of use cases here, including senior isolation and lower loneliness. Another way to say it, I'll simplify it, is really high volume, low acuity tasks that can be done by a non-licensed healthcare worker. And believe it or not, this crazy experiment is actually working. We've won over $200,000 in non-dilutive funding, including a $100,000 grant from Google. We find out about a $125,000 grant tomorrow from AWS, of which we were selected for their International Workforce Accelerator out of over 500 companies. We built a team of 6 today, full-time folks, and many more students. Our fully functional HIPAA compliant platform, we've launched with a client. We're 5 more in contracting. In full transparency, contracting in B2B enterprise healthcare can be long. We've reached revenue. We've built a $7 million pipeline. We're hoping to do $250,000 this year. And because those contracts, those and more, will be live by next year, achieving a $1 million in ARR next year, and conservatively hoping to far exceed that. Why do our clients want to work with us? Well, first of all, we're low cost. This is very much, and we'll talk about why. There's many revenue streams here. But purely on that outreach portion of it, we're very low cost. And we drive towards as many of those interactions we possibly can because it feeds some of our other revenue streams, which we're going to talk about here in a second. We have scale. We have on our product market fit journey, which we're very early stage, we're pre-seed stage, we don't fully have. But what we can confirm and say that we do have is we know we have student interest, like in a big way. And secondly, we know the students can perform this work. So we've tested those things. And then recruitment, which is really exciting and is a major revenue stream here. The idea is that the students that are working for your healthcare organization through Grapefruit Health, we're giving you exclusive access to them to recruit them. And we're going to charge you for that. But it's 90% less than what you're paying today. On average, especially in California, it's much higher actually. The national average is $25,000 to recruit a single registered nurse. And in California, it's 1.5 times that number. And so we're charging between $1,000 and $6,000 for a registered nurse. It goes more or less for, depends on the scarcity of the training. How do we make money? So on the outreach side of things, we're charging, let's say, $1 per attempt and $7 if we connect with a patient. So assuming a client here, a health system, ABC Health System, they contract with us for 100,000 patient lives. We're going to reach out to all those folks. That'll generate $1 million in top line. Our COGS are largely what we pay our students, mixed with some other support software, for a great gross, right? So this is healthcare services. These are amazing margins for our type of business. We also offer some things here. And again, I don't want to get too jargony, but there's a contract type in healthcare that's very popular called per member per month. And we can do that as well. We are the team to get this done. We are getting it done. Again, Eric Alvarez, I have 13 plus years of healthcare experience. After the military, I got my master's degree, my MHA from Rush in Chicago. It's a top 5 program. I'm fortunate enough to sit on adjunct faculty there today, and I have for a while, to the point where I was a named alumni of the year. Went over to University of Chicago Medicine, Northwestern Medicine, led large teams of over 100 FTEs. I know healthcare very well. And in 2015 was the CRO and first hire of a healthcare tech startup in referral management, SaaS-based company. And we were acquired by EMR giant Cerner in 2020. So I know healthcare startups pretty well. The rest of the team, we have over 50 years of healthcare experience. Many of these folks have doctorates in nursing. Many of us are actively have some sort of adjunct role in education as well, and an incredible technology team too. We look at our TAM, and this is how we calculate it, is an $18 billion TAM. We've talked about social care. Recruitment's an exciting bucket. But in the future, with all these eyes and ears of these students within our network here who are carrying a sizable amount of student loan debt, it is offering opportunities for us to kind of service those and offer potentially some discounts on interest rates and other exciting sort of programs and getting our foot in the door there. But again, what gets us out of bed in the morning is that if you operationalize 1 million clinical students, of which if you were to add them all up, that's how much there are at any given time in the United States, we can generate 1 billion net new patient touch points. We can save the healthcare workforce over 35 million hours. We could provide many new clinical rotation hours. and create new talent pipelines, basically training better clinicians of the future while making healthcare education more affordable. We're raising a $1 million pre-seed round. We're ready at $900,000, but which only $700,000 of that was diluted. Might be over $1 million tomorrow, fingers crossed. But with the market and the opportunity that we have in front of us, we're hoping to actually raise about another 300 to 500K. I am a solo founder, so we have some of that room in our equity cap table. We are looking to do this by the end of the month. To be honest, we do have some interested parties. This money gets us to the 250K in this year, and again, $1 million in 2024. And I'll leave my contact information up here. I talk fast, so I don't know if I was a little bit quicker than the others, but I'll leave my contact information up here and would welcome any interest. But
Awesome.
Thanks again for everybody and Garrett for having us.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much for your time. I'd like you to touch on real quick some of the key stakeholders that have already invested and have joined you on the advisory side that are opening doors for you within the healthcare system, because I think that's really kind of, along with the solution, that's part of your secret sauce, is your ability to build out that network and get in the door with some of these larger institutions.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and we have permission to share that in this forum. It's one of our largest investors is a family fund, and it's led by Scott Sirota. Scott Sirota led Blue Cross and Blue Shield nationally for 22 years and only retired 2 years ago. And his family fund, it was a very quick conversation. He understood it immediately. He sits on several boards of nursing programs today. And with that network, I think our network, by the way, is our superpower. It's how we've achieved so much in just a year. Is because, again, we're getting plugged in with decision makers at a rapid pace. But Scott's been able to make lightning fast introductions. On the nursing school side, we can't utilize him because the interest is so strong from our students, we would get flooded. So today we have a waiting list of hundreds of clinical students that we can't activate yet as we wait for these clients and these contracts to go live. Folks that are other funds, the Hustle Fund is invested. The Fund is invested. A fund out of Chicago, you might be aware of, may or may not be aware of, called Long Jump, has invested. Village Capital, we've won grants from Village Capital as well as Google. And then very excitingly and very excited to join the portfolio with some ventures here, as well as Antler and Sweater most recently.
Well, thank you for that plug. I appreciate it.
It's already been fruitful, Garrett.
I'm telling you. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, other questions from the group?
Just a general statement. I think, I saw you present, on the barn burner. Incredible. You're very mission driven. So I think, this is such a logical solution. No doubt you're going to be very successful with this. So congrats on this.
Thank you for that comment. Thank you so much. We appreciate that support.
All right, guys. I know we're at the end of the night. I think we got one more question in the group. I'm sure it's there. Adam, you're smiling. There's a question behind that smile. I just know there's not one. Amy?
Oh, I was just curious, and you mentioned you're about where the clinical students were coming from. You mentioned that you have a wait list that's in the hundreds. Are they being sourced from one school, one region? Where is this wait list generated from, and where do you see building it going forward?
Yeah, great question. So in order to kind of grease the skids or to enhance the probability of these students going to work for our client, we do it regionally. So within 100 miles of the client's location is where we actively recruit from. Excitingly, though, people are finding us. We've been enlisted in over 30 publications now, including Forbes most recently, because of this big AWS accelerator, as well as the Sweater barn burner competition. But even before that, we're getting students all over the nation that write us randomly. A lot of times, believe it or not, it's parents on LinkedIn who I'm connected with, who tell their children who are in medical school or nursing school about us is one way. We also just get cold emails through our info at inbox, and a lot of them are actually from overseas, Australia, the UK, from India, lots of parts of Central Asia, etc. And we don't utilize them, and we send them a nice thank you very much, but we are only utilizing onshore US citizen students today. And there's complexities there in healthcare why we're doing that. But this model does work overseas. This is very applicable because, again, we're not charging insurance for what we're doing. So that's what kind of separates the US healthcare system from other developed countries, is the complexities in our payer system. And because we're not touching those, and that's strategic, allows us also to go across state lines, et cetera, is that we could do this in Canada, we could do this in the UK, we can do this in Australia pretty easily.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Eric. Oh, do we have one more question? Did I hear somebody? Okay. Well, please drop your contact info into the chat window, and if you're curious about hearing more about Eric's Ezinne's or Salar's backstories, then I'll share the link. It's actually in the newsletter. The link to that barn burner competition is actually pretty. I don't know, Elko. You seem to think it was worth a watch, right? It was pretty entertaining.
It was an hour and a half, and it was a delight to watch it. You know, if you can highly recommend it. You know, Garrett, if you can share it.
Yeah, I'll drop the link in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun to see. So
awesome. All right. Well, hey, Eric, you got the contact info. I'll be sure to follow up with all the presenters. Ambrose, I see you're still on, but we're gonna have to ask the presenters to jump off now so we can talk about you guys a little bit. Salar, if you're.
Yeah. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one. All right.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry. Bye.
Oh, you're good. Thanks. All right. So thoughts from the group. I'm going to go in. I see Tim. Tim, I'm trying to recall if we've connected before. Are you with us right now?
I am here. I was referred to you guys by a friend of mine. We may be connected. I have another startup that we're thinking of. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the group. I just want to make sure welcome all new faces, and yeah, I hope you had fun tonight. We're gonna go down. Gonna go down the line. Asher, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was some good companies. I was intrigued by the company that I had the connection with. Obviously, I know anytime a founder of mine invests in a company, it's always interesting. In a space that I have familiarity with. So definitely want to learn more about that. And fyxify I thought was very interesting. I'd like to know what the valuation is.
Yeah. So I don't think you want it to necessarily. I'll stop